Gilles Villeneuve Circuit in Canada welcomes you to the 2021 Canadian Grand Prix here in Montreal, where it promises to be a race of intrigue. An old-fashioned track built around long straights. The cars themselves will be hitting just short of their top speed when they head themselves into turns 13 and 14 as they dice through the wall of champions. Speaking of champions, another way around the track, now one and another to guide you through. A guide of the entire track, narrated by Martin Brundle and driven by Michael Schumacher in his pomp, in his Ferrari.
Montreal, 2.7 miles, it's a brake killer. Let's see why. 190 miles an hour, down into turn 1, brake down to 70. Turn 2, in your face immediately, hook the curb on the inside. Now start applying the throttle. Accelerate brilliantly towards turn 3. It drops downhill. Take the curb on the inside, mind the curb on the wall on the exit. 85 miles an hour, stamps on the throttle pedal, turn 5 ahead. Absolutely full throttle car, beautifully stable under braking. Once more cheating the curbs on the inside. It opens up through turn 7 and now a long bumpy straight ahead of you with a slight tunnel under a bridge where you've got to brake extremely hard. The car dancing around. He hooks the apex nicely. The corner eases on the exit. A little bit of understeer gives you great traction as you build up to 195 miles an hour down towards turn 10. The hairpin down to just 40. Listen to this. Car almost in tick over, now is accelerating hard. We're going to build up to over 220 miles an hour. Listen to this engine screaming towards the final chicane. Turn 14 and 15, then barely enough time to get all the downshifts in the braking zone before the 80 mile an hour entry. The back end steps out, he corrects it. The World Champions wall on the right hand side where we've seen so many accidents. Building speed effortlessly before stamping on that brake pedal one more time.
It's a circuit that requires skill, it's a circuit that requires great brakes, great acceleration and sheer levels of bravery. Think to yourself, braking from nearly 200 miles an hour and hanging just 2 inches from the wall. Someone who knows about bravery is Lewis Hamilton, who leads the World Championship at the moment from Nico Hülkenberg, who might be hoping perhaps today he breaks his duck at long last and finally wins a Grand Prix. So let's go ahead and look at the grid here for the 2021 Canadian Grand Prix, and we start as always with pole position. That of course was taken by Valtteri Bottas, just beating his teammate Lewis Hamilton by barely 6 thousandths of a second. Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen are 3rd and 4th, and on the 3rd row is Mick Schumacher. Nico Hülkenberg is 6th. Charles Leclerc on row 4 is ahead of Lance Stroll, and then George Russell is 9th ahead of Sebastian Vettel, who is 10th. 11th is Pierre Gasly ahead of Carlos Sainz in the McLaren, and Romain Grosjean for Aston Martin is ahead of Daniel Kvyat, who's 14th. Ocon is ahead of Lando Norris in the Alfa Romeo, Giovinazzi in the Racing Point ahead of Sergio Perez in the Williams, and Alex Albon is ahead of Matsushita in 20th, Ganzoy at 21st, and last after a grid place penalty is Nicholas Latifi, the hometown hero in the Williams. Here we go. It's going to be a blistering session. There is Valtteri Bottas on the right, Lewis Hamilton on the left as the cars line up for the start of the Canadian Grand Prix. And these drivers themselves got to wait a little while at the front for everybody to line up. And when they do, you'll see 5 lights come, you'll see 5 lights go, and we're up and racing. There's Daniel Ricciardo getting ready to go on the 2nd row. We are waiting for everyone to line up. The marshal is back and he's waving his green flag across the back. We're all set. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. We wait. And we're up and racing here in Canada. Good start by Valtteri Bottas. An excellent start by Lewis Hamilton. Brilliant start there from Verstappen there in 4th place. He's just been able to go, and he's going wheel to wheel at the moment with Daniel Ricciardo. The two of them are absolutely side by side. Great start pulling away. Ricciardo though is going to be Renault versus Red Bull Power as they break through, and then Verstappen has done it. So Daniel Ricciardo is the big casualty from the start. Schumacher and 5th and 6th respectively, and Lance Stroll is in 7th place. So we're halfway through the first two corners. Valtteri Bottas leads from Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen is 3rd. Daniel Ricciardo is 4th for Renault. And great starts by the two Mercedes cars that have got off at an absolutely blistering pace. And look at the sparks from these cars, how low they're hunkered down to the ground, and how well you wish the RB scratching as we're watching the McLaren at the moment of George Russell at the moment challenging Charles Leclerc. That's the slowest part of the circuit. You know, 40 mile an hour, that's what they'll be doing. The engine's barely on tick over, and these cars themselves 330 kilometers an hour, which they'll be averaging as they break through here, around about sort of 220 mile an hour as they go completely flat out as well. And Sebastian Vettel trying to have a little niggle and looking to find his way through. That's one lap completed at the moment, and the two Ravenwest and Hulkenberg is already making a move at the moment, but so far Bottas and Hamilton look very comfortable as Hulkenberg looks to go around the outside of Mick Schumacher, and will he be able to hold the move here? This is going to be a very brave bit of driving side by side again. Holds the line, a little bit of curb. I don't know if that's damaged the tyres too much, but Hulkenberg is through into 5th place.
Well, no holds barred when it comes to the Ravenwest. Hulkenberg making his move very quickly. Out qualified by his younger teammate, but showing his experience in racecraft there to muscle his way through that chicane. And now he's got his sights firmly set on Daniel Ricciardo in 4th place.
So we're on lap 2 of 35 here in Canada. And these are going to be quick laps. One thing to watch out for, and that not because of how quick the cars are going, but the layout of the circuit as well. It's about as old-fashioned as oval, with a few hairpins thrown in. It's one of the last sort of great sort of bastions of Grand Prix circuits as we're watching Nico Hulkenberg look to try and make a move, and he's absolutely flying at the moment, Hulkenberg, and he's bravely able there to squeeze Ricciardo out of the way, and has now got through. So in 2 laps there, Hulkenberg has gone from 6th to 4th and is absolutely flying at the moment.
Mick Schumacher's having a go himself as well. Both Ravenwest trying to make their way around Ricciardo. Schumacher on the outside, surely not. Ricciardo holding his nerve as they head up to the chicane. Who's braver on the brakes? We'll see.
And Ricciardo is just about able to hold the position, so Daniel Ricciardo just about there, able to hang on to it, but he's definitely in the inferior car at the moment. This is Sebastian Vettel we're watching, and Vettel at the moment is being held up by George Russell, so he really has to try and find a way past the Englishman here, otherwise this could be trouble. And it looks like we've got one of the Haas's out of the race.
That's Guangzhou. His engine's blown up. He's not had particular luck with that engine so far this season. That's the 2nd blow up in 4 races. Not exactly the best reputation for Ferrari there, at least not for their customer team. Anyway, as the works team trying to, George Russell slamming the door in Vettel's face there, holding him off well.
Now again, this will be an opportunity for Mick Schumacher, and now there'll be an opportunity with DRS open. He should be able to go and glide himself past quite easily, which is able to do brakes and downshifts just enough into time through the Wall of Champions, with a lot of room to spare, it has to be said. But now the DRS is open, what a point do you think this is going to give an advantage to cars? Because strategy's got to be taken here, because you can easily be overtaken with DRS down this back straight.
You can, it's a very, very long straight, and as Martin was saying at the start, 220 mile an hour peak speeds down that straight, and this is very much a high-speed circuit, so be expecting to see a lot of overtakes in those DRS zones later on in this race, and even from now, quite frankly, because everyone seems very fighty so far. The midfield once again is awash with competitive overtaking.
In this case, it becomes around tactical overtaking. You wouldn't have thought that was a thing in Formula 1 a few years ago. Very much is the case now, and that is the nature of the beast that is DRS. Sometimes you let your opponent pass, and you've got to do a bit of arithmetic. Have I let them pass? Will I be able to go and get them on the next point? And now, trying to make a move at the moment is George Russell, who's trying to go round the outside. He'll have the disadvantage into the first turn, but then as he makes his way back out, he'll just have a better part of the pack. Also, by doing this, there could be the opportunity that he could be caught, but he's got DRS as a result of the move. Getting in, that's worked out just brilliantly in for Russell. It's also worked out really well for Sebastian Vettel, because he's been able to get past Charles Leclerc. So George Russell's up to 8th, Sebastian Vettel and the Ferrari is up to 9th, and Charles Leclerc finds himself back down in 10th and under pressure from Pierre Gasly, who has also passed him on the start-finish straight, and there he is right there, trying to go through. He's probably got enough through him, the AlphaTauri. That's coolly done, and that's good work by the Frenchman. And we're watching what's going on up ahead at the moment, and I can confirm then this is looking at, well, who's that that's off the track at the moment? Who's that that's off?
Matsushita. That's Matsushita, who's looks like he's broken his rear wheel, rear right. Let's have a look here. This is from Latifi. He's watching this 3 into 1 corner. Surely isn't going to work, is it? And it hasn't. There's a collision of some sort in there. I think that Giovinazzi getting involved. This is from Sergio Perez on the inside. Very brave to go in there. Any kind of view on what happened that time? Although it looks like Matsushita just spun out on his own, but he has got a broken wheel. This is on board from Matsushita. Let's have a look. Is there contact? Sounds like there was contact. This is from Latifi's position again in the slow motion, and oh, there you go. Contact just there between the two of them, and it's broken the back left wheel. Sorry, so Matsushita, suspension broken, out of the race.
And the aggression shown by the midfield is the downfall in the end for Matsushita, that tries to go 3 abreast through into turn 1. It was never going to end well, and it doesn't indeed, and he's out of the race. So we have 2 retirements at the moment, 20 cars still running. We're on lap 5 at 35 here, and already Valtteri Bottas is starting to bridge a bit of a gap on Lewis Hamilton. Just over 3 seconds along the main straight he's been able to pull away. What it does mean, Hulkenberg has got past Max Verstappen, and now Hulkenberg is chasing down Lewis Hamilton. And we know these Mercedes cars at the moment just aren't quite as powerful as they have been on previous years, and aren't quite as dominant. And here at the moment is Mick Schumacher being chased by Daniel Ricciardo, and Ricciardo here will be hoping to get back up. Started 3rd, now down in 6th, and what's gone wrong for Ricciardo today?
I think he's just having a little bit of a power shortage in this ding-dong at the front here. I mean, talking about the Mercedes as well, they've very much got the 1-lap pace, but race pace-wise, they're just not with it. They're getting all these front-row lockouts, but they don't seem to manage very well in traffic. Although Lewis Hamilton right now isn't really in traffic, but he's got Hulkenberg all over the back of him. He's holding him off well though. 7-time world champion who's brave on the brakes. Hulkenberg thinks about it. There's a long straight coming up and a DRS zone that he can use with that Bugatti power. Surely it's only a matter of time.
Well, you can hear the cars flying up through the gears as they go all the way through up to 8. DRS open. You'd think would be the opportunity here for Hulkenberg to squeeze through. There he goes, able to get through. Lewis Hamilton, does he try to hold him off? He does his best, and he's nearly squeezed up against the rule, and that's the fighting champion that is Lewis Hamilton. But I think that's a bit of a mistake, because also able to squeeze through a DRS is Max Verstappen. So Lewis Hamilton, in the space of about 3 corners, has gone from 2nd to 4th. It is out of the podium at the moment, but he'll have the DRS zone. And I spoke recently to Toto Wolff, who did say at the moment that he was disappointed with how the performance of the Mercedes drive chain has done since they have moved over to these V10s. But what they were hoping for, they would be able to find a bit more form as the season goes on. But Bugatti at the moment really have come into the sports with these new V10s, and they're flying at the moment. And you can see there by Hulkenberg, who's chasing down Valtteri Bottas, who has set the fastest lap.
Yeah, the Bugatti powertrain is definitely, especially turbocharged engine, we might add. They certainly know a thing or two about turbocharging big engines, just based on their road car department. But with the aerodynamic knowledge that Ravenwest got over their first season, and obviously the other racing disciplines they're with, to combine that with Bugatti's natural lust for power, it's created a bit of a monster, hasn't it?
As indeed, one wonders why they don't call their engine the Veyron at the moment, because it really is superhuman. And there has been a superhuman bit of bravery from Daniel Ricciardo to go ahead and into turn 14, squeeze his way through. And now again the problems with DRS, because this has also allowed Lance Stroll to also be involved in the battle, and he's been able to get through. So Schumacher, that was doing very well, has now found himself down in 7th. Stroll was through to 6th. Daniel Ricciardo is back up on the charge to 5th and going for it. And here is the 2 McLarens, George Russell and Carlos Sainz, and the 2 of those, well, obviously we saw McLaren's re-emergence last season after they finally won a Grand Prix after a wait of nearly 7 years to do so. I'm sure everybody in the factory at the Woking had a good old night after that. But they've been hoping to kick on a bit, but McLaren again are still battling through into the midfield. But they have got a very talented driver in George Russell and Carlos Sainz, son of Carlos Sainz Sr., the Rally World Champion, a quite brilliant driver. Those of you that haven't seen rally driving, Carlos Sainz in his prime was quite spectacular, driving a golden era of World Rally racing. And there goes his son. Sainz is able to get past Russell. He'll have the DRS as they climb up all the way through the little kink of turn 12, the back straight, all the way into turns 13 and 14. Pierre Gasly now is going to have just enough to get past Sebastian Vettel, and he is through also. And this Grand Prix is absolutely flying by. We're just about a quarter of the way through. We're starting lap 9 of 35 at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit here in Canada, and the two McLarens at the moment are having a little bit of a ding-dong at the moment.
I would wonder if team orders might come into effect, because it's probably going to hurt their race with those two racing. Obviously Sainz wanting to be number one, as we're seeing Hülkenberg all over the gearbox of Lewis Hamilton still. Nope, that's Valtteri Bottas, my bad, he's already got past Hamilton, but all over the back of the Mercedes, our camera has gone a bit funny there. Somebody might need to look at the camera lens on that one. Hülkenberg, has he got the drive? He's certainly got the power, but Bottas is holding his line. Is it going to be a battle of the late brakes? Bottas locks up. This is going to be very tight coming out of this corner. Who goes for the DRS? I think it's going to fall to Hülkenberg. We shall see on the straight.
And there is the DRS that's been opened up, so this will be the opportunity for Hülkenberg not only to take the lead, but to get his very first win here in Formula 1. Valtteri Bottas just about squeezes himself through as best he could, but had to yield position, and Hülkenberg is through. And you wonder, from this position, could Hülkenberg continue to attack? Now, second DRS position is open, but Max Verstappen is not there. But don't discount Max Verstappen, because he is absolutely flying, and flying into the pits is Lewis Hamilton early in the pit stops. He's on to the medium compound. He's moving away, as is Mick Schumacher coming in from the soft compound. And let's look at his pit stop.
Well, onto the mediums, so everyone looking to do a long stint. They had to wait a little bit to let another car out, so that will hurt Mick Schumacher's race a little bit, but not too much on a circuit that's power-based. But he's behind Stroll. He's, whereabouts is he going to come out? 14th. Just look at the state of that midfield. It is awash with cars. Once again, it is very tight. There's a Haas thrown in there. You would not want to be caught in that midfield battle right now. It would be disastrous for your race if you were trying to be near the front. I think Hamilton's just about cleared it, so he might just about get away with it.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton's come out ahead of Romain Grosjean in 7th place, which is best for him. This is the battle which we are watching at the moment, which is for the lead, and Hülkenberg again is having to hold off Bottas and Verstappen. That is the curse of DRS, and on a track like this, where you can have all the power in the world that you can from the Bugatti engine that they have, but the problem you have is down the back straights. The advantage you get with DRS on these long straights means that you can just whisk your way past your opponents, and this is the problem. So this is going to see how brave and how brave Hülkenberg is. He's trying to go into the pits, and they're all three that go into the pits, and it looks like, did Bottas make contact with the rear left there? Well, it's not going to matter, because he's going to pit stop and he's going to get away with it. Medium compounds going on Valtteri Bottas. What compound is Hülkenberg going to take? Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, is he double stacked? He's come out on softs, hasn't he?
He's gone on softs, and they've both gone out ahead of Hülkenberg.
Well, Hülkenberg will be gutted with that pit stop. It's not worked out, but at the same time, with fresh rubber on and the DRS options to open up, it's worked out perfectly. I'll tell you what, these pit stops have worked out quite brilliantly for Lewis Hamilton, because he's once again found himself back in the lead of the Grand Prix. That's brilliant strategy from Lewis Hamilton to find himself and his team up into the lead of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, so very close on the late braking there from Hülkenberg, and he's absolutely steamed around the outside of Verstappen there. I thought he'd outbraked himself, but he's done the cleanest outside manoeuvre I've seen in a long time. That was incredible from Nico Hülkenberg, and now he's all over the back of Ricciardo, who once again finds himself in a podium position. Pit stops have caused a bit of madness amongst the field.
They have indeed. Nico Hülkenberg showing PlayStation S skill and bravery to go ahead and find his way past that. Really was brave, and a brilliant manoeuvre that has been then. Now Ricciardo, he's got Hülkenberg behind him. That Bugatti engine shouldn't be any match for the Renault engine, but at the same time Valtteri Bottas is also there. But Ricciardo is able just to do enough to find his way through, and confirmation Lewis Hamilton on lap 12 leads by 2.3 seconds over his teammate Valtteri Bottas. Remember, Lewis Hamilton started second, Bottas was in second position. They swapped and it's all sort of trotted away, and now we're looking at Ricciardo trying to stop Hulkenberg, and the more that these two battle, the more that Bottas can hold them off, the more Lewis Hamilton can try and build his advantage in this race. So Hulkenberg would have fought after passing Hulkenberg, and don't forget Max Verstappen, never count out Max Verstappen, he's in 5th place, and there he is involved in this battle, and just seems to have an ability to sort of lurk and wait for the key moments to make a pass. Now Hulkenberg sideways through, squeezing his way through, he's pushed slightly out wide, able to recover back. Now they're going to make their drive all the way down to turn 10, where they go ahead and hit left as far as they can, all the way down, first gear, 40 mile an hour, right-handed turn, all the way through. Now the cars will go ahead and the cars will start pulling themselves, almost to the point where this gearbox tries to rip the engine out of the back of the car. That's just how much power these cars are producing. There goes Lewis Hamilton. There is Valtteri. There is Valtteri Bottas, my apologies. That is through to Hulkenberg again, and he's got to try and catch up the gap here to Bottas. Lap 13 of 35 we are watching of the Canadian Grand Prix in the Gilles Villeneuve circuit here in Montreal. Mick Schumacher now, and he's got Lance Stroll ahead of him in the racing point, and Schumacher probably wants to get past and try to sort of look to challenge, because once he's past Stroll, there's the queue of Verstappen, Ricciardo, Hulkenberg and Bottas.
Indeed, and Schumacher versus a Canadian at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit certainly brings back a few memories from a time when Formula One had this same soundtrack. So it's very great to see this battle again, although there's not the Villeneuve involved, but the Canadian fans have someone to back once again. They've got two, in fact, Latifi on the grid as well. It's good for them to have hometown heroes to cheer on.
Yes, indeed, Gilles Villeneuve, brilliant driver that he was, and that's why the track was named in his honour after his tragic death in 1982. But his son, Jacques Villeneuve, world champion in 1997. Don't forget he was runner-up in 1996 to the great Damon Hill. But here there is nothing Stroll can do, because that Bugatti power, along with DRS, there's not many cars on the grid that can match that. In fact, there's none really, because as a result, Schumacher has shot through, and now we're watching Max Verstappen, who's getting closer and closer to the back of Daniel Ricciardo and potentially looking to make his move. And this could be the key moment. And Ricciardo itself is put on a brilliant drive thus far.
He has. He's going to have to do extremely well here as well, based on the fact that he's on medium tyres. Verstappen went with the aggressive strategy of going straight back onto softs. That extra grip is clearly showing, but finding a way past Daniel Ricciardo is a mean task in itself.
So the soft tyres, they allow you to brake later, they allow you to turn tighter, turn harder, to accelerate quicker because you have more grip, and that is the disadvantage of medium tyres. And now Bottas has got Hulkenberg right on his gearbox, and I think Bottas has got the line all wrong. He's turned in a bit too tight. There might just be a little too much. Very, very close there. Hulkenberg was going into the wall. We wait to see who's got DRS at this point. The DRS has fallen the way of Nico Hulkenberg. He can see Lewis Hamilton in his mirrors. That is Lewis Hamilton. Hulkenberg is through. And will he go ahead and break through these through 13 and 14? And Bottas is doing a brilliant job of holding him off. And Valtteri Bottas is doing everything he can as a good teammate to try and see that his teammate Lewis Hamilton moves away. And as a result, Max Verstappen trying to make a move, and Daniel Ricciardo involved in that. And this battle for the lead at the moment is starting to turn very slowly indeed, into a 6-car battle at the moment. This is astonishing.
Well, one man who will be extremely happy is Lewis Hamilton. The longer these guys battle, the bigger the gap he can build, and Bottas doing the perfect rear gunning job, although he would much rather have maintained his first place from pole position. But it's roles reversed, and Bottas is doing an extremely good job at holding back the contenders, although Hulkenberg has sent it. He's gone a bit deep. Can he hold it? Bottas has gone around the outside, and he's maybe done too much there, Hulkenberg. Verstappen's going to try and sneak through now. Look at this, there's 4 cars. Mick Schumacher's involved as well.
So, here they go round to the first corner. Hulkenberg looks to hold on. He's going to try and get his position back from Max Verstappen. Schumacher has used the impending carnage ahead of him to get past Daniel Ricciardo, and now Hulkenberg is making his charge at the moment on the Mercedes. So close! Oh, was that an accident? Was there an accident? Was there any damage to Hulkenberg's car? Max Verstappen has got through in that process. That looked really dangerous though, that bit of defending from Valtteri Bottas at 200 mile an hour.
Bottas with the squeeze there, Schumacher-esque memories of Barrichello and Schumacher's close encounter with the Hungarian Grand Prix wall. That's very dangerous, almost dangerous. I don't know, might have been a bit too much, whether the stewards will look at that, but either way, Bottas has held the position, and Max Verstappen was the beneficiary of that one.
Well, I wonder if if it will be looked at by the stewards, of course, led by Ewan McIntyre. It was a very fair lead steward and race director here in Formula 1 after the correct sacking of Michael Massey, who shouldn't be in the sport anymore. We're watching at the moment the race take place as we move away from some of the politics on it, and Nico Hülkenberg, Bottas and Verstappen are involved in a fabulous battle. There goes Hülkenberg past Verstappen. The DRS zone will open again. Will he be able to get past Bottas? That'll be the key. If he can, it's a case of can he go ahead and build up and charge down on Lewis Hamilton. We are getting close to the halfway mark in this Grand Prix. Hülkenberg is through, but there's another DRS zone which opens up along this start-finish straight. Max Verstappen using it to get past Bottas. Well, at least it does. He's going to dive tight into turn 1. Will Bottas look to try and defend and hold him off? They're very, very close, and I think Verstappen's done really well. Got himself through. Verstappen is through into 3rd place. Hülkenberg is up to 2nd, and there's clean air ahead of him, and can now look to charge down the race leader, Lewis Hamilton. And we're back watching the battle between Sainz and Russell and the 2 McLarens.
Well, you'd probably think team orders might come into effect soon, because the last thing you'd want is for some kind of collision to happen. Oh, and there has been!
Carlos Sainz, Sainz is out. Yeah, yellow flag, so got to call a safety car to that. You can see there his front left has gone. And what on earth happened here?
Oh, well, this is... I mean, who do you blame there? It's good.
I cannot believe it.
Well, Sainz can't believe it. Dare say the whole of McLaren can't believe it. There wasn't enough space for those two to be fighting there. And as teammates, you should really know better into that complex. But tell you what, safety car's out. This might work out really well for Lewis Hamilton, or really badly. He could take a pit stop here, perhaps, or does he stay out? But either way, that's a big lead that he built himself, and all that hard work from Bottas to help him build that lead. Well, it's all going up in smoke. Question is, do they take the free pit stop here?
Well, nearly 6.5 seconds. Lewis Hamilton's lead that's being cut back at the moment. Lewis is deciding to stay out on those medium compound tyres. I tell you what, who this could really benefit is Max Verstappen. And coming into pits at the moment is also Nico Hülkenberg. In fact, Verstappen has also decided to come into the pits. He was on soft, so an opportunity to make a quick change. Medium compounds going on the Red Bull, so that's worked out brilliantly for him. And soft compounds going on for Hülkenberg. So some brave pit strategy that's taken place with this. They expect to fight their way through. And Trevor, love to know where you think this is going to work out in the race.
Well, the safety car essentially extends tyre periods at this point. For Hamilton, it means that he can look after those mediums for a bit longer. So he could probably get away with doing one more stop, potentially onto softs as well, depending on how the race goes. As for Max Verstappen, obviously he could potentially string out those mediums all the way to the end, because they're fresh right now. And by the time the safety car goes in, which you'd think in a lap or two, 15 laps on medium compound tyres are definitely doable. As for Hülkenberg, onto softs, that suggests maybe another stop for the aggressive strategy to try and make up as much time as possible. I mean, he's down in 6th place with the fastest lap, so it'll be interesting to see how they go about the next couple of laps.
And the question here, though, is what happens on the restart with Bottas behind Hamilton? Will Toto Wolff invoke some team orders and allow Hamilton to take off and Bottas to go ahead and chase down the pack? As always, our driver today, who will be behind the safety car, is a French-Canadian, Lejean Stedard. You might have heard of him. A very good touring car driver back in the day, and he's bunching all the cars up and getting them all set and ready to go. And we're just waiting for the orders as everyone's bunched up. The problem you are going to have, though, is that your tyres are going to cool, albeit they are going to last a bit longer. So you might see the cars sort of weaving about. That's as they try to bring a bit of heat into them, and obviously you have to line up and make sure you don't pass anybody.
Indeed, and we're just seeing Hülkenberg there was just having a look up the inside of Stroll for whatever reason. Maybe he's just trying to see where the end of the queue is, but he'll be the one having to work his tyres the hardest, because cold soft tyres, you might as well be wearing ice skates for cold for tyres in that regard, because they only work at high temperatures, whereas the mediums are much safer. And look, you can see all the strategies that everyone's gone with. Hulkenberg, Vettel, Gasly, Latifi, Albon and Perez have all gone onto soft tyres, so they're going for the aggressive stint, and will probably stop once more to go on to another pair of softs. Set of softs, should I say. You wouldn't put two softs on, that would just be silly. That would be almost like Mercedes back in Bahrain a few years ago. But yes, they've gone for the aggressive strategy, whereas everyone else, if they've just put on some medium tyres, they can probably go to the end of the race. It's people like Hamilton who will have to make one more stop. Do they go on to mediums again? Do they go on to softs? We don't know, but one thing we do know is the safety car lights are out and the noise is about to go back up again.
So we're going to wait for the key moments, and Lewis Hamilton will wait for his moment to get everyone racing again. They cannot overtake until they have crossed the start-finish line. At that point, we're back under and racing again. This is going to be a start of lap 20 of 35, so 15 laps to go. There goes Lewis Hamilton. The power goes down through the wall of champions, and this will be the key moment. We're back under and racing here at Canada, and straight away, using those soft compounds, is Nico Hulkenberg, who's gone ahead and found his way through, and he's gone very wide again against his teammate Mick Schumacher, and Schumacher of course on the medium. So both these cars on different strategies, but the soft's working again for Hulkenberg, and he's got to hope here that he can get ahead very quickly, build up enough of the lead, come in pit and go ahead and do enough to take away. As for a lot of the other cars, it might be as you will. We're going to have to wait and see, but from a standpoint of pit stops, this Grand Prix really has completely opened up. It's just doing a bit of ploughing there is Nico Hulkenberg as he squeezes his way through as they make their way through turns 8 and 9 towards turn 10 into the braking zone. He's going to take the inside line where the track itself is going to be the most worn and have the most rubber on, as these tyres themselves do wear them away. And already Lewis Hamilton starting to move away from Valtteri Bottas. So we wait and see at the moment. Is this going to be an opportunity to move away for Hulkenberg? And under pressure at the moment, Lance Stroll's putting Mick Schumacher under a heck of a lot of pressure all the way through. Hasn't worked out for Max Verstappen, is down in 8th place at the moment and hasn't been able to make the passes that he has done, but don't underestimate him. Stroll at the moment trying to go around the outside of Mick Schumacher as they make their way through into turn 2, as they build up speed towards turns 3 and 4. The very first sort of chicane, brake, hang left, 85 mph, powering away. They will then go ahead and pick up some more speed before a slow turning left and into another right-hander before powering away again to one of the long straights, very bumpy straight. And Hulkenberg is going to use this opportunity, I think, to try and get himself past Valtteri Bottas. They break from turns 8 and 9. Worked out perfectly for Bottas, for Hulkenberg, sorry, poorly for Bottas. He's now got Lewis Hamilton, the race leader, ahead of him. Can Lewis Hamilton stay a second ahead? Because if so, there's no need to activate DRS. And we're watching the DRS that we know will be activated in another lap's time. Lewis Hamilton's got to keep building that gap and continuing to build it. And if he can, there could be an opportunity for him to win the Grand Prix and take a further advantage in the World Championship. So there goes Hamilton. Hulkenberg is second. Bottas is third. This is the top three. Ricciardo is closely followed in 4th place. Lance Stroll, Schumacher, Russell, Verstappen are all starting to kick back a bit. And straight away here, Hulkenberg has got Lewis Hamilton completely lined up.
Well, he's got those fresher, softer tyres on. Those mediums are a bit old. Could he go around the outside? No, he thinks about it, but obviously learning lessons from Bahrain where he went too soon against Hamilton. He's got to wait for the right moments. Learning quickly after what happened there, and wait for the DRS zone. Take your time. Wait for the bit where it's easiest. You can brake later on the straight, and here we go. This might be the chance. DRS open. Not quite close enough yet, but you've still got the longest straight on the circuit still to come. So he's just going to bide his time. If he gets a good exit here, he might be able to have a go, or brake later than Lewis Hamilton going into this corner. Nope, he's going to wait for the straight, which I think is the smart choice here.
And here you think that Bugatti power, which has just had a bit much on the Mercedes recently, this could be the opportunity to move away. DRS is activated. Hulkenberg is side by side on Lewis Hamilton. They're doing nearly 220 mph, and in the end Lewis Hamilton has to yield the position to Hulkenberg because he's gone into pits. Lewis Hamilton has shot straight into the pits. So Lewis Hamilton electing to make a pit stop then. Another set of mediums going on. Is this a bad move for Lewis Hamilton in the race? We're going to have to watch at the moment. Sir Hulkenberg has kept him going. It's worked out brilliantly, I'll tell you what, for Max Verstappen when nose cone change at the moment taking place for Mick Schumacher. Oh, that's devastating because that's really going to affect the rest of his race in the Ravenwest side. But Bottas at the moment is behind Hulkenberg. But we know Bottas will have to pit, I believe. But Max Verstappen suddenly found himself third, and Max Verstappen, who know he's on medium tyres, may not have to pit, might just be in a position to win the Grand Prix here.
He could well be. These pit strategies are fascinating, and here we go again. There's a Red Bull in the midfield here. I think it's Romain Grosjean, is it? I can't quite tell. I think it is, behind Giovinazzi. So look at the state of this midfield. The two Ferraris are stuck down there. You really wouldn't want to get stuck behind it because it could really affect your race, which is why that pit stop nose cone is really going to hurt Mick Schumacher, because to fight your way through this field is going to be extremely challenging.
At the same time though, Lewis Hamilton has to fight his way through. He's ended up back in 13th place as a result, and you wonder, was it... Oh, there's a crash, that's out, that looks like that's Giovinazzi who's had a horrible accident. Really hope he's okay. Looks like he came side by side, and another safety car has been called in. And Trev, what happened here?
Oh goodness, that's a horrendous accident. Over 200 miles an hour. Oh, he's just dropped it. What, did he have a blowout? What happens? Losing it in a straight line. This is directly behind from Esteban Ocon. Oh, is he? From Leclerc's perspective, I reckon. You see, he's got DRS open. I reckon he's tried to turn too tightly on the straight, trying to get round, and he's lost the back end. That's a bizarre place to have an accident, but at that speed, that could be quite painful. That. Hopefully he's okay. We haven't heard anything bad, so fingers crossed Giovinazzi will be all right. But it's
Boss,
team radio.
A moment about the weather.
Go ahead, JB.
This safety car period has brought the rain into the race window.
Are you suggesting a potential tyre change?
Well, by my calculations, we're looking at rain from about lap number 30 with a potential crossover point from around lap 32.
Okay, how sure are you of this?
Well, 100% on the rain. The crossover point is 50-50.
So it's a bit of a gamble then?
Yes, but I think it's the right call to make under the circumstances.
So rain expected by lap 30. This is interesting. This is going to be a brave pit stop that's been made, and this is going to be a big bit of pit strategy. What does Hulkenberg do here? Let's watch for the pit stop. Let's watch for the Ravenwest crew. Let's see what tyre changes he moves on to. Another set of soft tyres. Is he gambling on the fact that he may have to move to intermediates in the final few laps of the race and looking to try and use those fresh tyres?
Maybe. Those two safety car periods, as you say, that we weren't scheduled to get rain, but at this point, you can see it's starting to grey over. They did say that we were going to miss the rain at the start of the race, whereas obviously those safety car periods, we had a brief virtual safety car right at the start for Zhao when his engine blew up, so we could be in for an interesting finale. Obviously that pit stop puts Hulkenberg only into third. It's not a terrible time to take a pit stop, but it does put him behind Verstappen and Gasly, who are, well, Gasly is difficult to overtake on his own, let alone Verstappen, who gives no quarter anywhere.
Well, this race has just suddenly gone to a new level of intrigue. The simple fact at the moment that the pit stop strategies, and you can see it starting to overcloud ahead. It's starting to look like rain could very well be on the horizon. Obviously, nothing like the biblical levels of rain we had in the great 2011 Canadian Grand Prix. Just an update for you in positions. Lewis Hamilton is up to 10th, and Valtteri Bottas is up to 9th in those pit stops that have taken place. So Lewis Hamilton, not a great pit stop for him. He really has thrown in all the way. So we wait for Hulkenberg. This is going to be so fascinating to watch strategies. But from the standpoint of Hulkenberg, another set of soft tyres. As we watch Max Verstappen wait for his moment. When does he decide to go ahead and hit the loud pedal? Now he goes for the loud pedal. Now they're moving away. This is a big opportunity. Pierre Gasly's also on it, and so at the moment is Hulkenberg, who's trying to get past Gasly into turn one. Has done it brilliantly. Great driving again from the German that finds his way through. Now he's got the Dutchman Verstappen ahead, and the power away, that Bugatti engine just powering away for the Ravenwest side. Left, right, as they make their way through. And now they go ahead and head towards turns 6 and 7. There it is, tight, and Max Verstappen is defending for his life at the moment. Long bumpy straight ahead as they make their way towards turn 8 and 9, and Hulkenberg knows get past quickly, get ahead before DRS becomes a factor, and just wait for these changes. A little bit of ploughing done there by Hulkenberg as he just cuts a little bit of curb, gets away with it. Now moving away, and the power is on at the moment, and Hulkenberg as they break the way rounds turn 10, the little kink of 11 that follows, and now this will be the major opportunity to show who has the bigger power, the Red Bull drivetrain, or is it going to be the power driven by Bugatti? Two V10 engines will be going absolutely fat out, up to 210 miles an hour. Hulkenberg looks like he's done it. Yes, he has. He's braked. He's found his way through, flying off into the pits there. Two pit stops there. That looked like Sebastian Vettel that flew in, and Pierre Gasly. So they've all gone to the pits. There's a lot of drivers that are starting to make their pit stop now. So Bottas and Hamilton are 4th and 5th, and Roman Grosjean, the other Red Bull, is 3rd. So Red Bull at the moment now have 2 cars as it stands on the podium. Daniel Ricciardo, I can report, has got past Lewis Hamilton, who's down into 6th place. That is the pitman made by the Williams. Jaguar does have a very, very popular livery at the moment. And now this race is starting to get more intriguing. We're on lap 27 of 35. We're expecting rain to arrive in the next 3 to 4 laps, possibly. And when that happens, well, this could be a new level of chaos here in the Grand Prix. And this is going to be a case of who's going to gamble, who's going to move in quick enough, who's going to be far enough around the track and able to pit quick enough. As Grosjean here, brilliant drive from him, who's come from nowhere at the moment to find himself in 3rd place.
I think he was about 15th or 16th on the grid at the start of the race. He's had an absolute blinder strategy-wise. Look at Verstappen.
And Max Verstappen is through past Hulkenberg. Brilliant work there to block off through the wall of champions. Nice and calmly done all the way through. Verstappen now leads. The Dutchman is ahead of Hulkenberg. He's got half a second as they break their way into turns 1. This is turns 2. Up to, they're going to power away from 85 kilometers an hour up to 265 kilometers an hour. Then they'll make their way all the way down to turns 3 and 4. There's 3. That's 4 again. Power again as well as they make their way towards turns 6 and 7. Here it comes now. This is 6. There is 7. There is Verstappen. There is Hulkenberg powering up towards turns 8 and 9, 305 kilometers an hour that they'll be doing as they make their way through. And now Hulkenberg looks to try and squeeze his way through. He brakes late, sends one into the corner, pushes him. He's gone off the track. Will he have to yield the position? We wait to see if that is the case. Grosjean is also involved, and Roman Grosjean looks to try and get through and is through into the lead. Roman Grosjean is into the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. Brilliant stuff, and don't discount Bottas, who's also involved in this battle. Brilliant there from Grosjean, who's coming through, and he leads the Canadian Grand Prix. But there's 2 snarling competitors with DRS open behind him. Has he got DRS open at the same time? He has. It doesn't matter though, he's been able to hold up the position, and they're going to stump through to start lap 29, and Hulkenberg is able to power his way alongside Grosjean. These 2 great rivals side by side into turn 1. Does Grosjean have enough to get through? Yes, there was so
it's raining.
It's raining now. It's raining now. It's raining now. So what happens on the terms of pit strategy? You can see the rain starting to fall on the track, and you imagine there's going to be a mass amount of pit stops coming ahead. And for Max Verstappen, this is disastrous because suddenly at the moment Grosjean is ahead of him. If they choose to pit and double stack, that's going to be disastrous for Verstappen, as potentially for Lewis Hamilton. For Hulkenberg, he's just got to stay ahead and get into the pits. The question is though, is the track wet enough that they will need to move to intermediates?
Well, it's not raining hard enough yet. The track is still bone dry. It's just evaporating immediately. So at the minute, it's who blinks first? Who's going to make that brave call to go on to intermediates? Is it going to be wet enough to go to intermediates at any point? They did say crossover was 50-50. They don't know.
Well, I can tell you this. If the experts don't know, sit down, put your feet up, and go ahead and watch this, because this is going to be 5 thrilling laps left of the Canadian Grand Prix as Grosjean here has a little look at Hulkenberg, but Hulkenberg is able to get through, and now we're watching Lewis Hamilton defending against hometown hero Lance Stroll. At the same time, there's also a conflict because there's Ocon at the same time, and Russell also trying to find their way through, and the battle behind will suit Lewis Hamilton, who was showing great pace at the moment at one point in this Grand Prix, but the pace has just fallen away recently. Now this is Ocon. They look to be side by side with Stroll. There he goes, Ocon. Now he's got Lewis Hamilton ahead of him, Esteban Ocon. the battle with everyone can't keep the rights up. It's the battle for the lead of this race. Lap 30 of 35, 5 laps left of this Canadian Grand Prix, and we don't know whether it will or whether it won't rain to the point where they will need to change their tyres. How does the track look to you, Trevor?
Well, it still looks dry, but the key thing here is track temperature is going to start dropping, and that's going to suit the medium tyre compound a lot better than the soft. So it's really, these next 5 laps are touch and go as Hulkenberg's getting all out of shape. He's probably losing temperature. He's going to really struggle.
And you could see it already there, really struggling, making his way out of turn 10, running really deep. A car understeering terribly, and Verstappen is using the opportunity. 3 wide they go. Verstappen might use this opportunity to make his way through into lead. Can Hulkenberg hold off Max Verstappen? He's past Grosjean, and there's also Ricciardo. There's Bottas. This Hamilton's also found his way back in. Ricciardo here looks to have got past Grosjean into 3rd place. Will he make a dive into 2nd place? Into turn 1, and Ricciardo looks to have done so. Verstappen has got to hold him off. He's got just about a nose cone slips ahead. They're moving away at the moment, and Hulkenberg is really struggling at the moment on those soft tyres. Was that a mistake to go onto the second softs in this situation? Is he gambling on it raining and moving quicker onto tyres? We will have to wait and see, but this is the key moment. But Daniel Ricciardo, what a bit of driving by the man, has started 3rd. He's now been pushed back by Grosjean and has gained the position back again, and now at the moment trying to make an opportunity to find his way past Hulkenberg, which he looks to have done so. They're side by side as they make their way through, and Hulkenberg is fighting and getting enough and just hanging on at the best of his abilities, and Daniel Ricciardo has also been able to be pushed, and now he's got 2 Starling Red Bulls sitting right behind him as they break through to turn 10, and much more sort of controlled over there from Hulkenberg that is definitely noticing the difference at the moment in those tyres. So Hulkenberg leads, Ricciardo is 2nd, Grosjean, Verstappen, Bottas, Hamilton. And don't count.
Now, 7 box.
Confirmed, crew is ready.
So, and into the pits goes Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg has decided to go for the pits. This is a brave call. If this comes out to be the right, well, this could be a
He's the only one.
He's the only driver at the moment who's come into the pits. Has Hulkenberg thrown away a race win for the bravest call that we could see? What tyres has he got on, Trevor? I couldn't see there.
Intermediates. He's gone to the green intermediates. Well, so, this is it.
So this is the moment where we're going to see, is this a brilliant call or an absolute bit of disaster? So we wait to see. Now there's much more visible rain at the moment on the track, but where Hulkenberg, he's down in 15th at the moment. Is he going to go ahead and use this opportunity to lap and get ahead of everybody? You can see more visible spray coming off the track at the moment, Trevor, and I'd love to know where your mind is, the next Formula 1 driver at this point.
Well, he's just absolutely blitzed past those 2. They're not particularly quicker cars, but this is going to be it. We're going to be able to see the end of this lap. Everyone else is still on dries. DRS has been disabled by race control due to wet weather conditions. Conditions are worsening. Dry tyres are not what you want to be on according to race control. This is it. This is going to be where we find out whether this was the right call or not.
Well, a brilliant bit of strategy if this has come through. You know, the strategists there, Chris Whiteman and JB, will be hoping that they've made the brave call. Hulkenberg was the only driver who came into the pits in that situation.
Is anyone else going to pit now?
We're watching to see now how many drivers are going to make their way into the pits. Grosjean and Verstappen are absolutely racing one another to get first into the pit straights, and here they all go, and they've all decided to stay out again, and you can see the rain at the moment falling on the camera. So Hulkenberg may have just made one of the great Formula 1 tyre strategy calls of all time. So Hulkenberg is involved in this conflict, if you like, and look at the midfield, of all bunched together at the moment, of all these cars are sold down. You can see Hulkenberg just trying to make a move past Vettel, which he has done right the way. Powers, he's got so much more power. He's able to get down on the track. That is the key of the tyres. He's past Daniel.
Everyone's on the wrong tyres. Everyone's on wrong tyres. They've all gone wrong.
It's a disastrous call by everybody but Nico Hulkenberg. Look at him go. There he goes. Now he's got Hamilton. He's past Hamilton, and Hulkenberg is through again. So Hulkenberg has got Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari ahead of him to catch, and he's got to get past Hamilton though to do so. Hamilton is proving to be a problem, but there goes Hulkenberg. He's able to do enough. And Mick Schumacher also has been able to get through. That's great driving by Schumacher, who has not pitted. There goes Hulkenberg. He's past Leclerc. He's got Esteban Ocon also to get past. He's then got a Racing Point and a Ferrari. That's Russell and Stroll. He's boxed in at the moment, but on those tyres he can get far more power down. Everyone's going to pit. This could work out brilliantly with 2 laps to go, because he could essentially walk his way through. There could be an advantage. How many drivers are brave enough to stay on? Hulkenberg has gone from 15th to 5th in 2 laps. This is a brilliant call into the pits at the moment. We'll wait and see. There goes Grosjean. Grosjean has made a pits, but everyone else is staying out at the moment. And Stroll, Leclerc, Ocon, and there's a lot more drivers coming into the pits. Lewis Hamilton has also come into pits at the moment on intermediates. Hulkenberg, though, knows that the 3 drivers ahead of him are on the wrong tyres, and just look at that. So much more grip round the outside. There he goes, and he's also able to get past Bottas. He's past the Red Bull. He's got Daniel Ricciardo 2 seconds ahead to hunt down.
Well, look at the intervals. It's a 2-second gap. Has Ricciardo got enough? He's got a lap and a half to hold him off.
Well, we could be set to a thrilling finale. If you're Daniel Ricciardo at the moment, you're dead pit. You try and stay out for 1 more lap. You do everything in your power to get these tyres to work as much as you can. That car is going to slip side and skid. He's going to be doing a little bit of oversteer, a little bit of understeer. Just has he got enough to hold off Hulkenberg that is on the right tyres? It should be no contest, and indeed it is in the end, because Hulkenberg is able to scream his way through. Brilliant strategic call there by Hulkenberg. Breaks his way through. Then he goes powering away, and now Hulkenberg can start to build up a real lead in the Grand Prix. So it means some of the few cars that have chosen not to pit ahead of him will come in, and this is going to work out brilliantly for the midfield battle. We'll wait and see. Do these
well, what do you do here? What do you do here? There's a lap to go. Do you hang it out on dry tyres? What's Ricciardo going to do? He's going to hang it out.
He's going to go for it. He's going to go for it. Daniel Ricciardo, my hat's off to you. That's a very brave decision to make as well. I'm not sure that's the best for Stephen. Max Verstappen has decided that he can't survive. He's pitted. He's essentially thrown away a podium position because all the cars behind him, he might have just been able to hold them off. But at the moment, we are looking at a brilliant drive that has taken place from Nico Hulkenberg. And look, he's up to 4.5 seconds ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. And the Ferrari and the McLaren at the moment of George Russell. Does he have enough to chase down Valtteri Bottas? So Verstappen has come out in 9th place. He's thrown away 15 points for 2, and he'll be deeply disappointed. Hulkenberg looking like this could be his very first win in Formula 1 at maximum points, and should bring him right in there in the championship challenge. And now we're watching Charles Leclerc right behind Romain Grosjean as the rain really is coming down now, and these top cars are both on
Vettel's on dries, and he's just ahead of him. Vettel is the last man on dries.
So Sebastian Vettel, does he have enough? Is Vettel's strategy going to pay dividends for him? He's got his teammate right behind him. This is so close, and the real tension's going. Nico Hulkenberg now is absolutely flying away, and this is going to be a key moment for a man who's been in this sport for such a long time. He's had such bad luck, such misfortune. Today, though, he's been brave, not only behind the wheel, not only with the overtakes, but in a brilliant bit of team strategy. He made the call better than anybody else, and Nico Hulkenberg comes home to win the Canadian Grand Prix, and he is a winner in Formula 1 at long last, and I think very few will deserve it more than he. Ricciardo hangs on to take 2nd place. Brilliant performance. Valtteri Bottas has done enough to come through in 3rd. Russell is 4th. Sebastian Vettel with just enough to come through to take 5th place. Verstappen is 6th in the end after a brilliant ride.
Nico Hulkenberg, you are a race winner. That is a sentence that has been long overdue, mate. You were simply faultless today, and you absolutely nailed the strategy. Yourself and JB made a great call on that one. Well done, guys.
Oh, jeepers. Man, it was fun, but very tough at the same time. Thank you, guys. It was a bunch of fun.
Well, the deserved driver of the day, Nico Hulkenberg. What a performance, Trevor, by everybody in the Ravenwest side for that call, that strategic call. That was very brave, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was indeed. Hats off. I bet JB's going to be in for quite the party tonight with that strategic call. It was simply perfectly timed, and Hulkenberg is finally a race winner.
Well, many congratulations to Nico Hulkenberg. You can see how much it means to him and his team. He's been he will now move ahead in the Drivers' Championship as a result of that performance. The hometown hero comes in 10th place and gets a World Championship point for Racing Point. So, bit of a compensation for the locals at the moment. There is the man in the hour. Too sweet to be sour. Hulkenberg has waited a long time, but sometimes the best things in life are worth waiting for. And for the Ravenwest man, here is a race winner. It's Nico Hulkenberg. The celebrations, I'm sure, will go long into the night here in Montreal in the Gilles Villeneuve circuit. Great drives as well by Daniel Ricciardo, and Valtteri Bottas was second and third place. We will go ahead and look at the full classified results in the end. Hulkenberg takes the win, and he set the fastest lap of 1 minute 12.04. Brilliant performance by him. Ricciardo and Bottas both on the podium with 18 and 15 points. Brilliant drive in the end by George Russell. We will look past the collision that he had with his teammates, but to bring the McLaren home in 4th place with 12 points is excellent. Sebastian Vettel decided not to make the final pit stop and held on to get 5th place by just a few fractions in the end. Max Verstappen, it was cool to go ahead and make the pit stop on that final lap, was proving disastrous. He was sitting second. He ended up finishing in 6th place. Leclerc, Grosjean, Esteban Ocon and Stroll make out the final top 10. Lewis Hamilton, after leading the race and dominating and only making 3 stops after qualifying second, finishes in a very disappointing 13th place.
Well, he got caught in the midfield battle, didn't he? And that's what happens. And that car is definitely not built to be caught in traffic. And he very much was stuck in the worst traffic you could find in the whole of Canada, you must have felt. Terrible day for him. And no points being scored for Lewis Hamilton when his nearest rival goes and scores 26.
You'll look back at this race and think perhaps this was the moment where things perhaps just didn't go my way. But for Nico Hulkenberg, it really has today. As for everyone else, confirmation Giovinazzi, Sainz, Matsushita and Zhang Zhou also did not finish the race. As for everyone else, Lando Norris ended up finishing 17th for Alfa Romeo, the only other Brit. Mick Schumacher and the Ravenwest in the end, after qualifying 5th, also finished 12th. Might feel he could have done better today. So in terms of the Drivers' World Championship standing, as things sit at the moment, Nico Hulkenberg moves and he's got a 25-point advantage over Lewis Hamilton, who is in 2nd place. Daniel Ricciardo has went ahead and leapt his way into 3rd place with 54 points, and Valtteri Bottas is down in 4th. Mick Schumacher drops back down to 5th place after his first race win, as does Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari. Max Verstappen still down in 7th place, disappointingly, but is just ahead of his teammate Romain Grosjean by 5 points. George Russell's 12 points moves him up to 9th place, and Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri remains in 10th. The only drivers not to score any points at the moment is Alex Albon, Zhang Zhou, Nicholas Latifi and Sergio Perez this season. As for the constructors standing, Ravenwest now have a 24-point advantage over the Mercedes sides, but both these sides are starting to pull away from the rest of the chasing pack. Red Bull have a 1-point advantage over Ferrari and Renault. McLaren get back on the track, challenging and moving ahead of the Racing Point side. They move down to 7th place. Williams still, sadly, unable to score a World Championship point. Well, that was an absolutely outstanding race. It was all about bravery. The circuit itself requires you to be brave. To overtake, you've got to be even braver. But to make a call and no one else follow it and move on to the intermediate tyres, where everyone else stayed out, Nico Hulkenberg, JB and Chris Whiteman and everybody at the Ravenwest team will be absolutely ecstatic with that. That was a brilliant call. It was a fabulous race. And many congratulations to Nico Hulkenberg, who at long last is a race winner here in Formula 1. From all of us on the Virtual Sports Network, thank you very much for tuning in. We're back next when we're off to France. Should be a thrilling race again. If it's anything as good as this, you've really got to make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and myself and Trevor Bundle, will see you again soon. Bye bye.